Before we jump into the episode, do you ever get so wrapped up in your business you forget it's time to get someone special a gift? Not the same boring flowers or cookie cutter bauble. No, you want something unique, one of a kind. Guys, I got you. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code if you're watching on TV and go to the Glass Arts Collective. They have dozens of handmade, one-of-a-kind items in lots of categories. You'll find animals, jewelry, holiday gifts, and lots more. All a one-of-one and ready to ship anywhere in the US. Head over there to find that special gift for your special someone, and thank you, Glass Arts Collective, for sponsoring GYET. This is Get Your Entrepreneurship Together, where you'll find stories, tips, and value from successful entrepreneurs who are out there crushing it. Here's a short preview of this week's episode.
If you understand those four components, you know exactly what to say to actually trigger a response that you're looking for.
Man, I'm here to tell you that right there that you just laid out, those 5 different areas, that's worth the entire podcast listen right there.
Many people believe that it's not possible to scale your business in the same way because it's a saturated market, but that's not really the truth.
And welcome back to the show, everyone. My name is Brian Elam. I will be your host here on Get Your Entrepreneurship Together. And today we're going to talk about brand. What is a brand? What does it mean to the company? What does it mean to the public? How do you build one? We're going to get all into that question. And we have Jamaul Ford here with us today of Brand Maven to help us do just that. So if you are starting out and you're wondering how to build a brand, what do I need to do? What do I need to think about? This is the show for you. So make sure you stick with it all the way to the end. And without further ado, Jamaul, thank you so much for coming on, man. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Man, Brian, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be able to have this conversation with you guys.
Absolutely. Our pleasure. And so I always like to start off with a foundation because I really think it's important for the listeners to understand who you are and where you came from. And that way we can build upon that foundation, get into your expertise. And so they really start building that relationship, that understanding. That being the case, where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town called Berwick, Louisiana. I'm a second generation entrepreneur. And so a lot of the skill set and tools in entrepreneurship I learned just growing up. Fast forward to my adult life, I've generated roughly about $8 million for my companies and my consulting firm over the past 4 years. And so for me, it's been a journey just to help other people be able to find their own path and their own journey towards having success as entrepreneurs.
Perfect. So you said second generation entrepreneur. Now, was it mom and dad together were both entrepreneurs? Just mom, just dad? What did that look like?
Yeah, so if you know anything about entrepreneurship, just because one person owns the business doesn't mean both people are not a part of the business. So yeah, for the most part, my mom owned multiple businesses. My mom still today owns 2 daycares. She's owned a clothing shop. She's actually done a lot of sugarcane trucks, like hauling back and forth in partnership with one of my uncles. She's also done a lot of different things. So really, my mom was the person that was really at the forefront. My dad was kind of a little bit behind the scenes working his traditional 9 to 5, but still coming and supporting the business in his free time.
Okay. So you got to see all these things that your mom was doing. And did you, as you grew up and got older, did you help her out, get involved in any of those businesses at all?
No, ironically, to be honest with you, I had no clue entrepreneurship was the path that I was going to take. I really got my bachelor's degree, transitioned to getting my master's degree. And as I was getting my master's degree, I also did side work as a musician. So being a musician, you kind of are entrepreneur to a certain degree. You kind of just operating your own schedule. So I worked a regular job and I was a musician.
What did
I'll
you,
never forget I had.
what did you play? I'm a musician as well.
Oh yeah, I still play. I play bass guitar, so I still play, man. I'm always playing, bro. I love to play. It's really therapy for me for the most part. Just trying to get my emotions out and playing. You know what I mean? So I've been playing for years.
I know what you mean, man. I'm the drummer in my band, so shout out to the rhythm section.
Rhythm section, bro, all day, all day, bro, definitely. Yeah, so I actually, and one thing about it is my dad's a pastor, so I grew up playing music in church, and and being a person that operated from a servant perspective. So I think all of those things really played a major part into my entrepreneurship, understanding not only seeing my mom from a business acumen standpoint, but seeing my dad as a pastor having community mind at first, like what do people need, like what do people want, how can I help others, and putting those two mindsets together really helped me on my journey of entrepreneurship.
Okay, awesome. And so when you were getting your master's degree, you were out there, doing those side gigs. And was that what really spurred you into this whole world of entrepreneurship? Or was it something else that you got into or found that opened that world up for you?
Yeah, I'll never forget. One day I was actually working. I graduated, got my master's degree. I was working at the corporate wellness department at the hospital that I was working in at the time. And I was pretty frustrated because I was making roughly about 35,000. This is like 2012 or so. I was making about 35,000 at the hospital, but I was making about 45,000 as a musician, and it was much less time. I was probably spending maybe 10, 15 hours as a musician. I'm spending 40 hours a week at my normal traditional job. And I never forget I had a conversation with my supervisor who was transitioning to another job. And I was telling him my frustrations with the idea that I'm making $10,000 more playing music than, my normal job. And he told me, he said, Jamaul, no one will ever pay you what you're worth. People will only pay you for what they have on the sheet of paper for the job description. You're the only person that can go out there and create your own value. And I really took that to heart when he told me that, because I understood that people was paying me for my unique value as a musician, and I was getting honored for that. But when it came down to the skill set, my degrees and all of that, they only wanted to pay me for the standard, which, being a business owner, I completely understand now, having a standardized way of doing things. But I realized from that conversation that I had to go out there and figure it out for myself.
Yep, absolutely right. And so, what was your first adventure? What was your first business as an entrepreneur?
Man, that's a tough question. I mean, people will say selling candy as a kid at school. People will say, like, is this weird amalgam of things that typically happen, especially in the people like me who are maybe second generation, that pushes you. I remember I grew up, my mom had a clothing store, and on Saturday she would open up the clothing store, and me and my sister would have to work there from like 8 a.m. to like 12 noon, and we hated it. It was a Saturday. Kids want to be out playing on a Saturday. We're sitting in this clothing shop waiting on people to come. My mom used to make us go outside. Okay, go out there and try to get people to come through the door. And my sister frustrated. We're like, man, we trying to go play. Our friends down the street at the library playing the library. Right? We're like, mom, we want to. No, we need people to come into the store. So I would say that's probably my first experience, and I think it also helped with like discipline, right? To like say, okay, I want to do this, but I have to do this. I have to make the best quality decision.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's so interesting. My mom at one point in our lives, in our family, had a clothing store as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a grind for sure, going in there,
Yeah.
especially getting it ready to open. That was, I think, the worst part of it. But yeah, it's so funny how we've got you and I have these little connections that are happening already. It's awesome, man. Um,
Definitely, man. Definitely.
all right. So you got the experience in the clothing store, your first venture of going out, getting clients. You're right. And that's what you were doing. You were trying to get clients. We all want more of those.
Yeah.
What was your actual first business that Jamaul owned, had an LLC, was like legit? What was that for you?
Yeah, so I would say it was a training business. I got my master's degree in kinesiology and human performance. And after, like, I want to say, like, right after that conversation I had with my supervisor at the time, I decided to, like, just start using what I already knew. And so I started this company called BFit, and BFit was just my ability to be able to go out and help other people just with exercise regimens and routines and things like that. And so that particular venture lasted, I want to say, about 4 to 5 years before we actually opened up a speech and hearing clinic. But with that being said, that was the first venture. I had an LLC. I had everything going for me, and I learned a lot from that venture. I really learned my biggest concept that I learned from that venture is to have one person make the decision for a lot of people when it comes to business, or what most people would traditionally call B2B. But I always like to call it one for many, because if you only limit that mindset to B2B, you can actually limit your potential growth as a business.
Hmm. Interesting. So when you had that lesson, and you went exactly where I wanted to go next, which was the lessons learned. But I'm curious if that was the lesson, like the biggest lesson that you learned from a failure.
Yeah, yeah. I would say, well, I think it all depends on what you deem to be failure. For me, I deem failure not trying at all. Like,
Same.
you know what I mean? I I see I see like, either I'm gonna learn what to do, or learn what not to do the next time, right? And entrepreneurship is a road that kind of goes like just in circles and loops. And the thing about it is, it's just risk mitigation, right? Like, let me minimize the amount of loss I may take, because I have to at least try 5 to 6 things before actually one thing works. And so I would say, just getting back to topic, I would say the one to many is one of the biggest lessons I learned, from the standpoint of understanding sometimes doing one-to-one sales aren't necessarily great, but if I can find one person that makes the decision for a lot of people, I can have continuous sales. Let me give you an example from a business standpoint. At the corporate wellness department at the hospital I worked at, we would go and speak to human resources and let them know, hey, look, if you guys let us come and do wellness checks once a year, it's going to cut your costs down on insurance costs, because you're doing wellness checks on all of your employees. And when that one person says yes, that means all 500 to 600 people at the actual company has to come through us and get services done. That means that that one person probably made a $200 per person decision for everyone who works at that company, right?
Hmm.
And that's a much easier sell than trying to find 200 individuals to agree to let me use their services. And it becomes continual. Last
Right.
example I give of that is this. When you're in high school, I don't know if you're familiar with playing sports in school or band. Most of the time, that band director, whatever instrument that band director tells you to get, that's the instrument that your parents going to buy. That's the instrument that you're going to wind up playing. The same when it comes to sports. If the coach says you need these shoes, these pants, these shirts, this here, you're going to do everything in your power to get the exact materials that the coach told you to get. And so that's one person making a decision for a lot of people.
Mm. Great example. And yeah, I was a band geek all through my school years, playing in the drum line. And it's funny. I was selected for the drums because when we were trying out all the instruments, the flute, the trumpet, all of that, right? I could not make a single noise come out of any horn at all. And so my band director just looked at me as like, "You're a drummer." I'm like, "You're right, I am."
Right. Right, right. No, I played saxophone. I played saxophone from my 5th grade year all the way till I became a sophomore, when I started playing football for the school. But I love playing band. I mean, my nephew still plays saxophone. I recently went back to my high school for the homecoming event, and my sister played in the band. So yeah, band has just been a part of what I've done my whole life.
Yep.
So I definitely agree with you from that standpoint. Yeah.
Same. All right. Well, not to get too far down the music rabbit hole, because I'm sure we could just make the whole podcast about that, and then I'd get canceled.
Definitely.
Then I get canceled. But going back to what you said about the one-to-many concept, there's two things I want to touch on. Number one, it's kind of another little rabbit trail. How do you set yourself up so that you're speaking to that one-to-many influencer, if you will, at that company? And the flip side of it, how do you set your operations up at your own company to where, if you're the CEO, you're the one, and people know and respect that?
Tell me, let me ask you a question real quick.
Yes, sir.
Which one of those is most important? Like, which one do you like? Would you like me to answer first? Like, because they're very inept questions. I would say let me answer the last one first. Okay. So just the setup of the company, because I think that's super important when it comes to actually being able to fulfill orders, right?
I agree.
So one of my favorite people I listen to online is this guy by the name of Daniel Priestley. I don't know if you're familiar with Daniel.
I am not.
But Daniel is amazing when it comes to organizational structure, business structure, and understanding those things. Daniel talks about the British military, and he talks about how when you start a business, you should never be a one person entity. And the reason why is because the entrepreneur wears so many hats. There's this book called The E-Myth, and I love the book The E-Myth, but it talks about how we wear the hat of the technician, the hat of the entrepreneur, and the hat of the operations person. And so you find yourself jumping from task to task to task, right? And it becomes hard to have success. So for me, I should know my strengths and weaknesses. If I'm really good at sales, I shouldn't be doing fulfillment. I should find someone to do fulfillment of whatever I'm selling. And I should have someone to help with the operational structure. And I should just be able to go out there 100% and focus on selling product or letting people know about product and let other people handle fulfillment, because it sets me up to where if I get 200-300 orders, I'm not having to jump from hat to hat to hat trying to fulfill 200-300 orders while getting more customers while doing these things. So, and it doesn't take a lot, especially in this day and age, it doesn't take a lot because you have a lot of virtual people who can work remotely from all across the world. So you have a lot of things that you can do to set up your organization in a way that it is structurally sound to fulfill orders. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. So in the terms of being a one to many and, issuing orders, so to speak, to take a military aspect to it, issuing orders to your employees, it's best if that employee is in the position that they can thrive in, and you are too. And do you think that builds that mutual respect, so that when you speak as the CEO, they listen and know that that's the way to go?
Yeah, I think that buy-in is really important. So just to go back to that analogy you used, there's this great book called Extreme Ownership. And Extreme Ownership talks about the fact that when you're in the military, you may not agree with the assignment, but you have to find some level of ownership in it yourself to be able to go and execute the mission. Because if you don't, you might die, right? Something terrible may happen. So you have to still, even though you may not 100% agree, find a way to buy into what they're trying to ask you to do. And so really when I hire somebody, I try my best to make sure that we have the same vision and value system.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we have the same vision and value system, I can teach you the skill associated with the business, but I can't change your values as a person. So if our values align, then it's less likely that we're going to have any issues in communication that won't be able to be resolved from a foundational standpoint. So yeah. And then the second thing I'll say about that, when it comes to military, it's important to understand what setup you have. An example is a 2-man team is like a firing squad. Then you have a 4-man team, which is like a troop and different things. So really, ultimately, you want to start off with a 2-man squad. Someone out there with sales, someone doing fulfillment, right? Then and that's letting you figure out, hey, are people interested in this product or not? Then from there, you bring on support. personnel, someone who can do operations and someone who can do finances. And so that's a 4-person team is a different military structure. So you want to look at it from that standpoint of building a company. And then really if you're building a lifestyle company that's making in between 2 to 4 million a year, you probably don't want to get over 10 employees. Like, really uh I would probably say 8 is the magic number that you would want to try to scale a business to for those particular numbers. But yeah, personnel, understanding structure, understanding how to communicate structure, all plays a major part into the one to many overall infrastructure of getting fulfillment.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you for giving those examples. I think that was a really great way to illustrate it and see it in the mind's eye. Now we want to go back to the other side of that question. For anybody that's curious about how to get clients, how to get in front of those decision makers, what are some? And we don't have to spend a bunch of time, but give us a couple little tips that somebody could take away in order to do this.
Yeah, so ultimately, warm leads is the first way of getting leads. So if you're just starting out your business and you're trying to find someone to get a big order, you just have to reach out to your current infrastructure to figure out who will help you. And so the 3 major places I will look at is the people that follow me on social media, all of the people I've ever emailed in life. I would go back to and pull out all those emails, and I'll pull out every phone contact I have. Those are your 3 biggest lists to getting people to buy your product. Those people already know you, they know who you are, and now you're just implementing that list to find the right clients. I think that no matter what, that's going to be the biggest list that you can always pull on because it's going to continue to grow. And if things kind of fall back or whittle down as a business, it's always something that you can depend on to find new clients. So that would be my biggest tip of just implementing that. I'll give you an example. Let's say I own a grass cutting business. When what I would do is I would text everyone that I know and say, hey, look, I'm starting this grass cutting business. If you know anyone who needs their grass cut, anyone dealing with weeds, anyone dealing with yellow patches in their grass, feel free to have them reach out to me. Now, the great thing about saying that is you're not asking them directly for help, like not directly to support you. But if they're driving by their friend's house and they see weeds, or they driving past a friend's house and they see yellow patches of grass, you're the first person that comes to mind because you said that in your initial message. So verbiage is super important and really doing that. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
No, it definitely does answer the question. And just I'll add one caveat into the example that you just put out there. It also doesn't, you're also not pitching that person. But
Yeah.
if that person needs your services, it's a frictionless way for them to step in and raise their hand.
I 100% agree. I'm really big on understanding the pains, the frustrations, the desires, and the fears of your customer. If you understand those 4 components, you know exactly what to say to actually trigger a response that you're looking for, whether it be you talking to a person directly or talking to a person to help them identify that in someone else, right? So an example is if you don't resonate with my business, let's say, hey, I have a pet grooming business, right? And so I'm like, they were like, what? And I'm talking to some random friend of mine. What made you decide to join a pet grooming business? Well, I seen so many pet owners that was frustrated with the people that were going to. Their pets were coming back with injuries. Their pets were coming back sad or having these different things. And so for me, I wanted to give a holistic space for pets to be able to come and get groomed, get treated, and get treated like real people or real, like real family members. That person may not have a dog at all, but they're going to resonate with what I'm saying. And when they pass by someone with a pet or pass by someone that a family member with a pet that needs grooming, I'm going to be the person that they suggest because of the empathy that I show for pets in my communication and them understanding that I understand what issues that people with own pets typically have, right? So yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. It guys, I knew this conversation was going to be amazing, and Jamaul just laid out some incredible tips and insights that you can apply to your business, especially if you have a dog grooming business. Because as a pet owner, myself, if my pet came back from a groomer injured, oh man, that's it. Never going back.
Yeah.
Depending on the injury, there might be lawsuits involved. So yeah, 100%. Great, great stuff. So now I want to move into your area of expertise, your business, and talk about what inspired you to get into SEO and the social media management and all that side of the business world. How did that come about?
Yeah, so as time has gone during the pandemic, or during the time where everything was kind of shut down to a certain degree, we had a really big area where so many people had stopped and so many people were online and so many people was trying to find information and actually figure out how to make their business grow. The people who ultimately had success during that particular time had already established some level of foothold on social platforms or online or in a space where they could be seen. And so these people really flourished during this particular time. So post that time, many people believe that it's not possible to scale your business in the same way because it's a saturated market.
Mm.
But that's not really the truth. Algorithms are changing, information's changing, AI is really changing the game when it comes to targeting your particular audience. And so when it comes to creating social media content, marketing content, and putting things out there, people still should be putting things out there because they can reach the people that will support their businesses.
100%. 100%. And I love the fact that you said that it's, even though it might seem saturated, it is still possible. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think the most important point to all of that is to remember what your focus is in your business, which is not the products that you sell. It's not this particular service. It's the people that are going to be interacting with your business. And that is what needs to be focused on in all of that outreach. Would you agree?
Brian, I would say this. People I always say this, people leave products, people don't leave friendships.
Mm.
And that is extremely important when it comes to business. It's not important for me just to sell you something. It's most important that you know that I appreciate that you purchased this from me, and then that you see that I care about you having success with the product or service that I offered you. And as the company grows, that becomes more systematic in the way. It may not be as personal touch as it was in the past, but you can systematically scale something like that. So I agree with you. I just feel like making sure that people feel like they are wanted and that they truly like they are getting not only great product but great communication and great camaraderie just overall. I really believe that's important with any business because you don't need a lot of people to succeed in business. You really, if you have 1,000 people that agree to pay you $100 a month, that's $1.2 million, and there's 8 billion people in the world. So if you can touch 1 million people, I'm pretty sure you can convince 1,000 of them that your product or service is a great product or service if you're being honest and truthful about your product or service and you're showing genuine empathy with your target audience.
Mm. Awesome. Yep, 100% agree. And let's get into now this aspect of perception of business and what it looks like to this potential buyer, the potential consumer. And I want to roll this off with the question, what is a brand?
So, brand can be a multitude of things. A brand is identity or relationship, like relative things. So, an example it can be association. A great example of brand association would be when I say Michael Jordan, people might say Nike,
Mm.
right? Because those two things are associated. When I say Skims, people may say Kim Kardashian. When I say Terramana Tequila, people may say The Rock, right? Because these particular things have become brands because of association. So,
But I would say they've become brands not only because of association, but because of another brand.
correct. And that's what I was going to say, Brian, because
Okay.
yeah, we're saying exactly the same thing. So for me, my favorite example is probably The Rock. The Rock was a wrestler. I believe it was still WWF at the time, but probably WWE is what is most known as now.
Right.
But he became a household brand because of WWE, because it's association with that particular brand, right? And so him associates himself with that brand, allow him to get followers, be able to build up traction. Now, granted, he is an amazing speaker. He's an amazing performer in those particular things, and that ultimately propelled him to higher heights than most people.
Oh yeah.
But fast forward, whenever 2020 came around and nothing was going on, he had over 500 million followers on Instagram. There's only 350 million people in the United States, which makes him what we like to call in social media a nation state. He has more followers than some nations have actual people who live in the nations, right? So which is crazy to say within itself, right? But now when he says, "Hey, I'm coming out with a product, Terramana Tequila," what's 1% of 500 million people?
Oh,
That's
dude.
5 million people, right? So if he has, so now if you say, oh, he has 5 million people buy Terramana tequila at $20 a bottle, now we're talking a lot of money, right? Now, out of those 5 million, let's say 500,000 of it like it so much to where they buy it on a regular basis once or twice a month. Now you're in billion-dollar status just from that initial association that was WWE to The Rock, and then him taking that brand association and then building up another brand off of that association, right? If I wanted to build brand, Brian, the perfect thing would be to come here, do this podcast, put a hat on with my brand on it. Every time you see me, you see my brand, and then now you're going to start associating those two things. That's like the simplest way of explaining association.
That's perfect. And again, I love it when this happens because you went exactly where I wanted to go next, which was yes, you can build yourself up like The Rock and get all those followers, but you don't do that by accident. So, how do
No.
you build a brand that has the potential to grow to something like that?
Two big ways. I'm so glad you asked me this question. This is like the best question. I'm going to tell you the two ways. One is a concept and one is action items. There's this concept called the Eiffel Tower theory. Are you familiar with the Eiffel Tower theory?
I'm not,
Um,
but I'm chomping at the bit, man. Go for it.
Cool. Okay, cool. So the Eiffel Tower, people typically spend an average of about $250 when they visit the Eiffel Tower. To go up and down the Eiffel Tower usually only costs about 20, 25 bucks. It's not a lot to go up and down the Eiffel Tower. So you ask yourself, why are people spending an average of $250 when they visit the Eiffel Tower? It's because of the foods, the trinkets, everything around the Eiffel Tower that people actually spend money on besides going up and down the Eiffel Tower, hotel, just these particular things, drinks, just the overall experience. The experience of the Eiffel Tower is just not going up and down, it's everything around it, right? So those things are things that people spend money on. You want to be the Eiffel Tower, and this is why I'm not really a big component of faceless brands,
Mm.
because if I put myself out there, if I put my face out there, I can build any brand off of my face. Just like I explained to you about Terramana Tequila, The Rock also has Zoa energy drink, right? And that's a whole nother brand. But he's still the face of all of these brands, so he can build any additional brand off that singular brand. So the Eiffel Tower theory is like, hey, people come to see me and then they support the products that's around me.
Mm.
But let me be the focus point and let them see me, and then they will see the associated brands around me, right? So that's the initial concept. How do you execute that? Really, it's about communicating with the people around you, putting out content, taking everything you know, putting it out there. Even if you don't have a product yet, even if you don't know what you're going to sell, go talk to people on social, go live, figure out what people are asking for. I'm really big on supply and demand. There has to be a demand before you actually give supply. No one told you they wanted to buy t-shirts. Why are you creating t-shirts? That makes no sense, right? So if 200 people tell me they want t-shirts, then I might consider t-shirts. But if I seen someone else making t-shirts and I say, "Oh, t-shirts is a great idea," t-shirts may not be a great idea for me. People may be asking that person for t-shirts. They may be asking me for something else. So I have to figure out what people are asking me for before I even start the process, right? So yeah. And I don't want to keep rambling on and on. I want to stop, but
No, I was just going to say, what was the second action item in that list?
yeah. So once you understand that there's only 5 things you can sell in life, right? This is super important. You can only sell access, convenience, security, validation, and opportunity. Those are the only 5 things you can really sell someone. Whatever product or service you put behind it is ultimately what it is. But if I'm offering someone a refrigerator where I'm giving them convenience, I'm giving them access, I'm giving them security on their food, right? So you understand those parts are important components to understanding what verbiage you use in your marketing, right?
Right.
So if I'm Uber, I'm offering access and convenience. So all of my marketing, everything I say is going to be focused around access and convenience. If I'm the government and I'm trying to get someone to vote for me, I'm going to push to say, hey, let me keep you safe from these other people, because I'm going to say that you're more secure with me in office than someone else in office, because, so that strategy. Most brands, or most high-end brands, sell validation, right? Like, oh, if you have this Louis Vuitton bag, you're of a different status. Or if you have this, Richard Mille watch or whatever it is, they're selling validation. And most entrepreneur is mostly just selling opportunity to make more money or whatever. But those are just some light examples. So once you understand what people are asking you for supply and demand, okay, this is what the demand is. Why is the demand here? What category, which of the 5 categories does this fall underneath, right? And then now I understand what my product is, what the verbiage is I should use to push my product out. And now I can start going towards the market to letting people know what I'm doing.
Man, I'm here to tell you that right there that you just laid out, those 5 different areas, that's worth the entire podcast listen right there.
Oh.
Like, y'all don't shut it off, y'all. Don't shut it off. There's more to go. But I'm just saying, like,
Yeah.
I had never heard that before, and the way you broke that down was masterful. So thank you so much for that.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I could go to step 3. Step 3 is also important as well.
Let's go.
So,
I'm here for it. Let's
okay,
do
cool.
it.
So we went through supply and demand. We went through the 5 things you can sell. There's only 4 ways to get leads, or 4 ways to get new customers. That's warm outreach, that's content, that's running ads, and that's cold outreach. Those are the only 4 ways that you can actually acquire new customers. But regardless of the fact, they all boiled back down to warm leads or warm outreach. And the reason why is because it's very rare that someone's going to take a chance on something they've never seen anybody else take a chance on. So most of the time, you want the referrals from people to say your product is the best product or your product is a great product. Most of the time, whether we're going to restaurants, whether we're buying a product on Amazon, what's the very first thing we're looking at? We're looking at reviews, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Especially if it's a big purchase.
So if it's a big purchase, you're definitely going to look at reviews. But the irony of it is, Brian, people think that it's just big purchases, but because of the advent of Amazon and TikTok and these places, small purchases, you look for that star rating. If it's a $5 product on Amazon, you want to know that 500 to 600 people have bought this product and liked it. You're to a certain degree, we're not willing to take a $7 chance on something that only has 5 reviews, right? Like
Yeah.
we need to see some reviews behind it. So there, I definitely agree with you. The bigger the purchase, the more reviews we need to see, right? Or the longer the review. If I'm going to buy a car, I'm going to go on YouTube and watch somebody really talk in detail about this car before I even put my leg in the car. Like I'm really going to deep dive,
100%.
into figuring out what car it is. So yeah. So this is the structure, and I'm going to try to keep this. Give me 3 minutes. I'm going to try to keep this under 3 minutes, but it is depth. But let's just say warm leads. Starting this, I'm going to use. Let's use toothbrush. I'm starting a toothbrush business. I'm making toothbrush. So I went out there, I made content. People was like, man, you know so much about dental. Have you ever thought about making a toothbrush? I talked to like 150 people. Out of 150, 75 of them said, man, I think I would purchase your toothbrush if you came out with a toothbrush, right? I seen that there's a demand there. Then from them having a demand there, I understood what my unique value proposition was. What can I bring to the toothbrush game that nobody else can? What am I selling? I'm selling security. So I'm bringing the fact that when you brush with my toothbrush, you're not going to have any plaque, anything left over. So I understand what my unique value proposition is, and all my marketing is going to be around the idea of security. Understanding when you use my toothbrush, it's the hands down the best, and no one's breaking up as much plaque or whatever as my toothbrush. Boom. So that's pretty much what my marketing is. Very first thing I'm going to do, and this is repeat of what we talked about before, I'm going to pull that email list, that phone list, and my social media list. And I'm going to say, hey, everybody, I've been really doing a lot of things in the dental world for about 4 to 5 years. I'm happy to announce that I'm starting a toothbrush company. If you know anyone who's looking to buy toothbrushes on subscription service, looking for just better, healthy gums, healthy teeth, healthy things, please let them know that I'm starting this business, right? So now, anytime they're out there having that conversation with somebody, anytime they think about it, they need a toothbrush, I'm the first person that comes to their mind, right? Now, I'm going to take 10 of my closest friends, and when I start making social media content, I'm going to get them to commit to sharing at least 2 to 3 of my posts a week. Why? If I have 5,000 followers on Facebook and each one of my friends have 3,000 followers, then that's me hitting 35,000 people instead of me only hitting 5,000 people. So if I have them committed to sharing who I am and what I do, I'm already touching a lot of people, right? And there are my social proof to those 35,000. Like those people say, oh, if he shared this, then this might be something worth me looking at, right? So I'm going to continue making content, get them to share it. I'm going to start getting comments and things said underneath my content. I have to reply to all of those because this is what I'm going to find out what people really want in the comments of my content. I'm going to make YouTube content first. Then I'm going to make probably Instagram content, Facebook content, then TikTok content. That will probably be my order of content making because YouTube, people are going to want more in-depth information about my toothbrush. So that's why I will use YouTube. Once I do that and I'm getting comments from people, now I know what to put in my ads because they're telling me what they want. They're telling me their desires. They're telling me what they like, what they dislike about my toothbrush. Now I'm going to formulate that into marketing. How I'm going to put it out there. Run Facebook ads, run ads wherever people are looking for toothbrushes. My B2B strategy would be going to dentist offices and see if they would be willing to sell my toothbrush as a better offer, right? So that's my one-to-many strategy. Then from there, lastly, if I decide I need to do cold outreach for the toothbrush and I'm just calling random people, say, hey, look, I started a toothbrush company, boom, 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 whatever. And they're like, I'm not interested. I say, well, hey, look, check out my social media page. Check me out online. They go online. They see me talking to you on a podcast. They see me, my friends sharing all my posts. They see all my things. They say, oh, I love your toothbrush. Now they're more willing to actually purchase my toothbrush because I laid all that groundwork. So those are the 4 ways you can get leads. And that's the way you would implement all 4 to get leads to your product or service.
Well, okay, I'll admit it. I was wrong. You the whole 5 different blocks that
Yeah.
businesses fit into, I thought that was gonna be the top. No, well, you just topped it. So I
Yeah.
was wrong. See, I told you guys there was a reason to keep sticking around, right? There was gonna be more.
Oh man.
Man, that was phenomenal, especially if anyone is just getting started with a business. Like, you just gave them the roadmap. Just gave them
Yeah.
the roadmap. I love this. This is so good. I don't even know. Okay, now we got to go back into this brand thing, which we started
Yeah.
talking about, but we went
Yeah.
down
Yeah.
this amazing rabbit hole. Um, so we know how to build a brand, and we understand what it is. So once we do all of this hard work, what do we do to protect it?
Yeah, so brand is very tricky and when it comes to that. And it depends on how you structure your brand. If your brand is 100% associated with you as an individual, you have to be very mindful of what you do as an individual and what your name is associated with out in the public. And you also got to a certain degree, if when you're mitigating those risks, you got to take ownership of errors. Many people are
Mm,
so afraid of making mistakes or having mistakes happen, but I think that we underestimate the value of taking ownership over those things. Like if we mess up, instead of me hiding that I mess up, to say, "Hey, yeah, we messed up. We didn't do it the way we wanted to, but these are the improvements we're going to make in the future." People respect that. People honor that. Like people are going to get behind that. Best example, I think TD Bank recently had an issue where they had a couple $1 billion they had to pay back um, to the government because some of their practices wasn't that great. And they came up, they took ownership over it. They said, "Hey, look, we messed up. We're going to do this." But I don't feel like everybody's going to pull their money out of TD Bank. I think that because they did take ownership, that people will oblige to that and know that their practices are going to be better because they openly took ownership over that. So protecting brand can mean different things to a lot of people. I think ultimately, if you're trying to build a one person isolated brand, you just got to mind what you're doing and who you're associating yourself with over time. And that's the biggest component of protecting brand, really, for me.
yeah, yeah, I definitely agree. Being more mindful, especially in the age of social media, and just the fact that you can comment on anybody's anything, and if it's not in alignment with who you are, it's out of character or whatever. Yeah, it can come back and bite you, and we've seen that from several people on social media in the past.
A ton of people, a ton of people.
Yep, absolutely.
I will say this too, Brian. Just another way to protect your brand is to also not just associate your brand with yourself. Like once you build the brand to a certain level and you're able to get people on the same status of you or slightly higher to agree to associate your brand, then your brand isn't 100% built on what you do and what you don't do.
Hmm.
Um, give me 30 seconds for this rabbit hole real quick. Just
Let's
30 seconds.
let's go. Let's go.
Okay. There's there's 5 levels of billionaire. I won't go through all of them, but I'm going to talk about level 2 and level 3. So level 2 of billionaire is what we would like to call someone who owns a business, who that's a public business that's traded on the stock market, that does not have a great diversity in their business. A great example of that would be Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. This is the reason I'm telling you this. So if Elon Musk takes 5 or 6 billion dollars of his Tesla stock and sell it, a ton of people are going to sell their Tesla stock because they think something's wrong because Elon sold so much of his stock. So that causes initial panic, right? Bill Gates, who is not as rich as Elon Musk, only owns like I think like 10% of Microsoft. So if he wanted $5 to $6 billion, he wouldn't have to take it exclusively from that one company. He would take it a little bit from here, a little bit from there. And so no one would ever realize actually what he's doing, right? Like they wouldn't see such a large chunk of that happening. The reason I say that is because Elon Musk is so tightly associated with the brand of Tesla that anything he does with Tesla immediately affects Tesla. And that's a tough spot to be in. Whereas Bill Gates, he can make moves without it affecting Microsoft as a whole. So if you diversify your brand to be associated with multiple people and not just associated with you over time, then you won't, if something does happen, it won't do as much damage as if you were the sole person associated with that brand. And I hope that makes sense from how I tried to explain it from that standpoint.
It makes
But
perfect sense because it's
yeah,
essentially the Eiffel Tower model that you were talking about earlier. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you want to be the Eiffel Tower, but you also have these satellite brands and products around you. And it doesn't necessarily mean they have to be products that you came up with. It could be somebody
right.
else's business who has seen value in that cohesive relationship. So, yeah, great stuff. Man, Jabal, I could just keep going. I could just keep going and going. But we're running short on time here. So, um, you've already given us such incredible tips, a masterclass in how to build business, get leads. And I want to jump off now and go into a little bit of fun stuff. A little bit of
Okay,
fun
cool.
stuff. So, nothing to do with entrepreneurship. We're just going to have some fun and get to know you a little bit better. So, I was wondering, what is your guilty pleasure?
Man, I would say I have two really. My first one is probably the Ninja Creamy. I don't know if you're familiar with the Ninja Creamy. It's like this
No.
it's like Ninja has a blender, right? And they have like this blender where you can make smoothies. But they
Okay.
have this thing called the Ninja Creamy, and it makes ice cream out of anything. So if you take like a protein shake or whatever and you freeze it overnight, it kind of makes it. And so it'll be like maybe one protein shake and a little bit of milk. It may be like 300 calories, but it comes out like a pint of ice cream. And so it is really like healthy because it's just a protein. You really only supposed to have one a day. I probably eat 4 or 5 a day. No lie. In my mind, I'm telling myself, "Oh, it's just protein shake," but I'm like, I'm not supposed to drink 5 protein shakes a day just because it tastes like ice cream. So I would say that's my first guilty pleasure. I also enjoy playing pickleball a good bit when I have the time. I'm not great at pickleball. I always play. It's Pickleball is a great game because you can play with older people and you can play with younger people. I typically like to play with the older people, not because they're old, but because they're more critical. And I enjoy critical critique. And
Hmm.
like, so when I go play with the younger people, they'll be like, that's all right, Jamaul. That's okay. You'll get it next time. With the older people, they'll be like, oh, he's doing such a terrible job. And like I would rather hear that to know I need to improve than someone trying to pat me on my back. So I would say those might not be great guilty pleasures, but those are two things I really personally enjoy just doing, just in my spare time.
That's awesome. Yeah, and those older people playing pickleball, they have, they're probably retired, so they have all the time. They're sticklers for the rules, man.
Oh my god, they're so good. Like they're so good because they don't like younger people. We're moving, we're doing all of this. They have just such masterful paddle skills. They're just like hitting into the ball, doing some kind of like man, like I don't know what's going on, but yeah, they have a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah, right. Oh, and then also was curious about what is a place that you want to travel. It's on your bucket list that you haven't visited yet.
Man, where I haven't not non-business,
Now,
just travel,
non-business, just
I've never been to,
travel.
okay, I've never been to Japan. I'm a very big anime fan. I'm a very big story fan. Korea. I'm a big. This is might be super nerdy of me. I enjoy manhwas. I enjoy mangas. I enjoy stories. Like I've always felt like whether it be comic books, whether it be um, manga, whether it be anime, the storylines are so in depth and they're so like intriguing that I enjoy. I just enjoy those culture. I enjoy Asian culture. I enjoy Japanese culture. So Japan probably would be somewhere on my bucket list to travel.
Yup, same for me. Japan's definitely on that list. And yeah. stories are definitely important. And like they always say, facts tell, but stories sell. So
Story tell
it
every
doesn't
time,
it
man.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're a fiction story or if you're a nonfiction story, like the story of your business. If you have a good
Yeah.
one, it'll capture people.
Yeah, I mean, being a great storyteller is like really the one of the most important things to getting people to want to be a part of whatever you have going on, whether it be business, whether it be spiritual, whether it be health based. You know, understanding the story. The hero's journey is always the best story to start with, like your own personal story, telling people. But story is a big thing to master, just in life as a whole.
Yeah, you're 100% right. The better that you are at putting together a story and telling it effectively, the more successful you're going to be in life, whatever that looks
Yeah,
like for you. Well,
definitely.
Jamaul, this has been an amazing conversation. I can't thank you enough for everything that you've shared here. So before we let you go, tell us where we can go to get into your world and understand more about, business or your what. Tell me your business name again.
Yeah, so I have brand Maven,
Brand Maven.
but I want to talk about my funnel factory. I have a online community online called the Funnel Factory. The Funnel Factory is absolutely free. It allows people to come in and get funnels for their business to be able to get people to purchase their products to make it seamless. The funnels are free, the community's free, the information's free. I just really want to help people have success. We've had in the past 6 months, we've had about 6 to 8 people get to generating over $10,000 a month. Stephanie, who actually has a pet toy business online. Within her first month, she was able to generate about $4,000 a month just from a subscription box of toys. Sorry Grace, she's from New Zealand. I hope that's how you pronounce her name. Sarai. Sorry, yeah. So she has a what business her? She has a beauty supply business, and she was able to generate roughly about $2,000 a month just from sales and things like that of just using our funnels and using our content things. And this is absolutely free. So if you want to join, just go. It's a school community, SKOOL, called the Funnel Factory. Feel free to join, and I'd love to assist you on your journey to success.
Man, that is amazing, and it falls right in line with everything that you just shared with our audience here today, and just how you've got such a giving heart, and it's amazing to see. So thank you so much for that.
Man, thanks so much for having me, man. I appreciate. I know we were speaking about an hour, but I'm so glad to be here to talk and just discuss this with you, man. So yeah.
100%. And I could definitely see, you coming back on the show, because I know there's going to be more developments in your business. And, whenever they roll out, man, just reach out and we'll definitely have you back on.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Brian. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Well, you know what to do. Like this show, share this episode with your network. You never know whose life you can impact positively with just a simple and free share. So, like the show, subscribe if you're not already, and peace. We will see you in the next one.